Okay, so thank you everybody for joining the call this evening. This is our weekly STI English training. My name is Nathan McCullough. I am a future Diamond Director, and I am coming to you from Lampung, Indonesia at the moment. And I got a very exciting topic for everybody tonight. So we're going to be going through the process from start to finish that it takes to really be not only an effective associate, but an effective leader when it comes to taking your new associates through the process of learning how to set their mindset in the beginning, learning the basic skills that it takes to be a network marketing professional, and then learning how to take that skill set and that mindset that you've learned in your basic training period, and then passing that down to the new people that you have coming into your organization so that you can then duplicate leaders, create a passive income for yourself, and ultimately create freedom and the lifestyle that we're all looking for in USANA. So I would advise taking a pen and a paper out if you have that available and taking a couple of notes, because I'd like to have a nice little lively discussion when we're finished about any questions that people have about how to go through this process or to take your people through this process. So the training tonight is called The Ladder to Success and the Path to Creating and Sustaining the Life of Your Dreams. So first of all, no man can climb the ladder of success without first placing your foot on the bottom rung. What does that mean? That means that you can't skip steps, right? From the very beginning of this process, you have to submit to the process, which means you have to go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Okay, and that means, generally speaking, you want to go through each one of the ranks as you're going as well, right? You might skip 1 or 2 here and there, but the design of our compensation plan is actually to have you use the incentive trips and then go through the ranks the way that they're designed so that you can build solid steps all the way to diamond. Okay, there's so many people that start USANA and they come out the gates blazing. Maybe they're using money games and they're skipping ranks. And ultimately what happens is if you go from one rank and you skip a couple of ranks and your mindset is not at the right rank, or your skill set is not enough to be, a gold director or whatever, then you're going to fall back down the ladder. Okay, and getting up the ladder is hard enough. So we want to make sure that we're going step by step. So what that means is you want to really follow the process. Okay, USANA has a BDS. They have a process that's already established, and then the STI family, we have our own STI process as well. So you want to really start the right way and follow the process all the way through so that you can get to the destination that you're looking for. Okay, you cannot skip steps. So hopefully this video will play.
Everybody wants the prize, but nobody loves the process. Everybody wants to be a champion, but nobody's willing to put in the work that it takes to be a champion. Everybody wants to hold up the trophy and say, man, I did it, but nobody's willing to put in the work that it takes to do it. I love the process. I love the thought of working for what I want. You're never supposed to wish for it more than you're willing to work for it. Your expectations never supposed to exceed your effort. A lot of people, they wish, and they're not willing to work. Life is going to hit you with a certain level of opposition, and it's going to test your will, and it's going to test your heart. And life is going to say to you, you said you wanted it, now let's see how bad you really want it.
So obviously the theme there is starting to love the process, right? I love what he says about you can't have your expectations higher than you're willing to work. You know, you have to really fall in love with this process because the reality is it's hard work, you know. For those of you who have been in the business for long enough, you know that this is no cakewalk, man. This is entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship is not only a roller coaster, but it's difficult from start to finish, you know. You have to go through levels of development, you have to go through adversity every day during this process, and if you don't love the process, you're going to burn out at some point. So that's why we really want people to just accept the fact that it is a process, right? You don't want to get to the end too quickly, because the process during the process is actually where the growth and the development happens. And it may be a little bit cliche, right? But you hear people talk all the time that it's not really about the end result, right? It's really about the journey and the person that you get to become, because you have to deal with all the obstacles that are required to get over in order for you to be successful in USANA, or you know, having the fitness that you want, you know, whatever it is. It requires doing work, and that work requires you getting outside of your comfort zone and learning how to do things that you don't know how to do right now. And that's actually the beauty of this process. You know, if you have a regular job, or when you do things in the ordinary world, it actually doesn't require a lot of transformation and breakthroughs for you. And so you can actually come to the end of the line in a lot of tasks that you do in your life without really having grown and developed yourself as a human being. And that is something that I find to be really unfortunate. You know, at the end of the day, anything worth succeeding at is worth going through a lot of obstacles on the way, right? So you really want to embrace the process. And it all starts with you. Okay. As a leader, you have to recognize that this whole process starts and it really ends with you. It starts with your attitude. It starts with your commitment level. It starts with your ability to care for other human beings, including yourself. And it starts with your passion and your vision that you have for what you want for yourself and your life. So there's really two main decisions when it comes to your USANA career and your business. Okay. Now, everybody that's in 100% of the people that are in USANA made the decision to join, right? That's just logical. If they didn't decide to join, then they wouldn't be in the business. And I always really acknowledge people when they decide to make that decision, because I believe very strongly it's an act of courage. For most people, there's something that you have to overcome, transform, you know, whatever the case may be, in order for you to put yourself in USANA as a business. You got to find the money, or you got to find the time, or you got to overcome your fear. You know, so it really is an act of courage to join. But it's the decision that's actually the easier of the two, right? The second one is the decision to commit, to make a decision, right? Tony Robbins always says that a decision, if you break down decision to its root in Latin, it means to kill off. And what that means is to kill off any other possibility. And he talks about how in the Trojan War, the Trojans actually burnt the ships. They sailed onto the shores. They rushed their opposition, and then the commander actually turned around and had the boats burned, so that there was no way to retreat. There was the only two options were die, to win, or to die. And so that's really what it means to commit. It means you take out the possibility of quitting, and you really commit 100% to the process, and you decide that you are willing to do whatever it takes to be successful in this business and to become the person that you need to be in order to create that success. And it's very important to understand that your character is actually the foundation for your business. It's the foundation that your business is built on. And if you look at our STI values, the reason why integrity is our number one value is because without integrity, nothing works in your life. And integrity and your character is really the foundation that your business is built on. They say that your thoughts become your actions, and your actions turn into habits, and your habits become your character, and your character is what creates your destiny. Okay, so we have to follow that all the way back and really understand that who you are as a person is actually what your USANA is the foundation that your USANA business is going to be built on. And if you build a huge house on a weak foundation, it will eventually come crashing down. And I promise you, if you build a USANA business on top of a weak character or a lack of integrity, at some point that business will come crashing down, and everything that you built for yourself will be for nothing. And you really don't want that, right? So the second thing that I want to talk about is really the mindset. Okay, so the positive mental attitude is something that's extremely important, and for most people, it's not something that comes naturally. Our human brains have what they call the primitive brain, or the reptilian brain, which is our default mode of being in life is to exist in one of two states. That's fight or flight. And so we're constantly in reaction to what's happening to us in our life. And so for 90% of people, the ability to cultivate a positive mental attitude is one of the most difficult, but one of the most important things that they'll do in your life. Because a positive mental attitude is the right mental attitude in all circumstances. Success attracts more success, and failure attracts more failure. And I quoted Tony Robbins earlier, but he always says that whatever you focus on expands. So if you're someone who's constantly saying, I'm broke, or I don't have enough time, or my team isn't following me, or you're focusing on all of the problems in your life, then you're going to keep multiplying the problems in your life. Okay? It's important not to be in denial. Okay, so you have to be honest with what some of your struggles are at the moment. But Tony Robbins says spend 10% of your time identifying whatever the challenges are at the moment, and then 90% of the rest of your time focusing on solutions and things that you can do to overcome those challenges. And that's really the crux of having a positive mental attitude. So let's talk about what a positive mental attitude looks like in USANA specifically. Okay, so GLLA means good learning, listening attitude. It means you're someone who is got your ears open and you're listening for how you can learn. You're someone that has, in the Philippines, they call it a yes mentor attitude, which means it doesn't matter when you come into the business, whether you're the president of an organization, or you're a lawyer, or you're a doctor, or you're a secretary, right? When you come into the business, you start on the bottom rung. And so the Philippines has really created this extraordinary culture of yes mentor attitude. And what that means is when you begin, if your mentor asks you to do something, okay, you do it first and you ask questions later, because your mentor in this business would never ask you to do something that's not in your best interest. Okay, so even if in your mind you're trying to figure out, well, why would they ask you to do that? Try doing it first and then ask questions later. Then you can find out sort of what was the reason for that. It will save you a tremendous amount of thinking and time and analyzing. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Because all of that time that you spend thinking about whether you should be doing something, you could be doing it and figuring out whether it's going to work or not. And that's much more effective. The next thing is actually the belief. Okay, I believe that this is the most powerful belief in the universe, and that is the belief that everything happens for you and not to you. Okay? It means that you're never a victim to anything that happens to you in your life. Some people say there's either winning or learning, right? There's no losing. There's no winning and learning, which means within everything that happens to you is an opportunity to learn something. So even if something doesn't go your way and you have a quote unquote failure, right? As Napoleon Hill says, every failure is the opportunity to start again with more information, right? So you can start again better with more information and a better chance of success. And if you have this kind of mindset in your life, you will stop wasting so much time wishing things were a different way, or, I should have done this, or they should have done that, or I should have said this, or it's not fair. All of that negativity, which ends up sucking energy out of your life, and that's time that you could have been used creating something. Now you have all of that energy back, and you are much more effective as a human being, and you're enjoying your journey much more. And inside of that belief really helps with the thing that people really struggle with the most, I believe, in network marketing, is the fear of rejection. But if you think about it this way, that everything happens to you, or sorry, for you, and not to you, and that everything is a lesson, then there really are no rejections, right? Someone's giving you feedback, right? Maybe you make a request and they deny your request. But that's an opportunity for you to figure out, could I have done something better? What can I learn here? So you're never taking anything personal, because it's not about you. This is an opportunity for you to grow and learn. And all of us, right, whether you're someone who's new to this business or you've been around for a while, you're going to have people that quit on you in this business. It's just part of the process. And sometimes, like for me, I had my younger brother join my organization about 3 years ago. And he came to the USANA convention. It was amazing. We had a great time. He wanted to be, one of the leaders in USANA. And at that time, I hadn't developed myself enough as a leader to be able to give him the support and the structure that he needed to really have success in USANA. And so he ended up quitting along with one whole leg in the US. And I learned very, very quickly that this is part of the process, and it doesn't have anything to do with you personally as a human being, but it does within it, right, is the opportunity to learn something about yourself and what you could have done more effectively. And that breakdown, that sort of negative experience that I had in my life, was something that I worked through with William, and ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I learned during that process that I was doing too much for people, and I was going around taking work away from people and not letting them grow and develop themselves on their own, and I wasn't allowing people to become independent. And so what happened was, when I left the US to come to Indonesia, that leg broke down because I wasn't giving strong enough leadership. And I would have never learned that lesson had my brother not quit. Okay. So it was super uncomfortable at that time. And it's not something that I was really enjoying at that time. But when I look back on it now, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me, because now all of my new associates that come in, right? For those of you who are in my team that are on this call, that I really make sure that people are doing their own work. I don't go around doing the work for people. And so I allow people to grow and become independent and become stronger. So in this process, gratitude is really the key. And what I mean by that is, when you believe that everything happens for you and not to you, then what that means is you can receive failure in a very, very different way. So failure is the failure to achieve whatever particular result you want at that time. It doesn't mean anything about you as a human being. So if someone saying no is an opportunity for growth for you, then you're going to be so grateful for whatever it is that comes along in your life. Whether it's what you want at that time or not, you know that you were given this for a reason. There's something for you to learn about yourself as a human being in this process, and therefore you can be very grateful for anything that happens to you. The next part of the mindset is actually developing what we call a growth mindset. So William did a training with Mia on yesterday, I believe, on the growth mindset. And so I'll talk a little bit about what I mean by growth mindset. And what that means is there is no end to the growth process. Okay. Just like we said earlier, you want to embrace the process. It's not about getting to the end, it's about going through the transformations that are required during the process. And the process never ends. I wish in the group today, if you guys have an opportunity, Deep and Simmer are on their leadership summit this weekend, and they put a video of a 71-year-old woman who was attending her leadership summit, and she was ballroom dancing with one of the other associates that were there. And I thought to myself, that's such a beautiful example of having a growth mindset and refusing to stop growing. The refusal to believe that, oh, I'm too old to do this or I'm too old to do that. That's a 71-year-old leader who just went gold and got her leadership summit and was dancing the ballroom dance at the leadership summit. And so that's a really beautiful example of a growth mindset. Okay. And that is mastery is a mountain that has no top, right? You're going to keep climbing for the rest of your life. And if you stop climbing, you start declining. So masters really do understand that the more that they learn, the less that they know. And what that means is Socrates was a Greek philosopher that lived about 2,500 years ago. And he was the father of Western philosophy. And at that time, he was considered the greatest thinker in Athens, in Greece. And the thing that he was known for more than anything else was the belief that he used to always tell people, the only thing I know is that I don't know. And he would always say that the more he knew, the more he realized there was so much more to learn. There was so much more that he didn't know. And that is really a beautiful mindset, because it gives you this second thing here, which is the white belt mentality, right? The white belt is the first belt that you get in karate or jiu-jitsu or whatever the case may be. And that requires a dramatic sense of humility, right? A lack of importance and understanding that there's so much more that you can learn in the vastness of, how much there is to learn as a human being, not just knowledge, but knowing thyself as well. And it also creates openness. And by openness, I mean looking at something newly, right? You're open. Maybe you know something very well, right? But you're open that you don't know it all. Maybe you know another person very well. Maybe it's your wife or your brother or one of your teammates. But openness means you're never closing the book on someone, right? You are open that there is something that you don't know about this. And when people have the trait of openness, it means that they're very, very curious in life. And people that have a tremendous amount of curiosity are people that grow the most. And so in this process, if you decide that you know something, that's a stamp, right? That's the end of possibility. And it's the end of learning. So you really want to be careful or check in with yourself where you go about in your own life, deciding that you know what something is, or you know how to present, or you know how to communicate, you know how to do X, Y, and Z, right? Because as soon as you say, yeah, I know that, right? We've all had conversations with people, or we've done it ourselves, where we're like, yeah, I know, I got that, I know that. And usually it's before the person's even finished speaking. It's an automatic, yeah, I know that. And it cuts off openness. There's no humility there. And it will really stunt your growth in this process. So you want to really set aside that you know anything and create the openness that will allow you to stay in a state of what they call wonder. And the reason why I chose this image is because it's an amazing image of a child reading a book, and you can imagine her imagination going wild during this process. And children are such amazing examples of a ferocious desire to know and to learn and to be open to the newness of things. You know, kids are always, why daddy? Why mommy? Why daddy? Why mommy? They want to just they just want to know why and why and why. And it's this really insatiable desire to know more and to learn more. And when you have wonder, right, it also means as an adult, you can cultivate wonder, which means you can stand before something that maybe you know with the mindset that you don't know, right? You can wonder before a sunset. You can wonder before even something mundane. Having the ability to cultivate wonder means you can keep the joy alive in the process because you know that you're never going to arrive. Okay, so now let's segue a little bit out of the mindset side of things and get into a little bit more of the how-to. And so the next step, aside from setting your mindset, are the skills. Okay, and you can see in the middle there's a book called GoPro, 7 Steps to Becoming a Network Marketing Professional, which many people call the Bible of network marketing. And there's also a YouTube channel, which I strongly urge everybody to buy the book. It's in Bahasa, if you're somebody that's a Bahasa speaker. And then there's a YouTube channel called GoPro Network Marketing. And on that YouTube channel, Eric Worre is constantly uploading little 5 and 10-minute videos every single day with some sort of lesson, some sort of mindset, some sort of skill development. So you're constantly getting new information each day to help you learn and develop your business. And so what Eric Worre says in GoPro is that there's only 7 skills. And once you develop these skills, you have what he calls $1 million skills. And I think he's very right when he says that success in network marketing, it's not about timing and it's not about getting lucky, right? Too many people are hoping, wishing, dreaming, hoping they find this amazing downline or whatever the case might be, right? And so real success in network marketing and becoming a professional is all about skills. Right? If you wanted to become a brain surgeon, right, you wouldn't hope that you learned how to become a really good brain surgeon, right? That wouldn't go very well. You go to work, you show up at school, you learn, you develop the skills, you go through your practicum, you learn everything that's required to become a master at brain surgery, and then you go on to become very effective in brain surgery. And for some reason in network marketing, I think because of the lottery mindset of that comes with a lot of multi-level marketing companies, this sort of the money games mentality, people think it's somehow different, right? And the reality is, if you're going to become a diamond director, this is a business. And it requires you to develop the core skills that it takes to be able to be dropped into any country, regardless of whether you know people, whether you know the language. If you have these 7 skills, you are 100% in control of your destiny and your success in this business. And when you have at least competence or mastery in the 7 skills, your confidence level will go massively up because you know that you have everything you need to be successful. So we're not going to go over the 7 skills in this training. I really recommend that you go out and you get the GoPro book, but just to go through them. So you have prospecting, right? The ability to go out and find new people to talk to about your business. And then the second skill is inviting, right? Once you've identified a prospect and you've sort of built a relationship with them, how then to transition into inviting them to come and take a look at USANA, right? Eric Worre calls that the gateway skill, the second skill, inviting. Without the ability to invite people, number 3 through 7 will never happen, okay? So the third one is learning how to do a presentation. And I want to spend just a couple of moments talking about this because I feel like in our STI organization at the moment, we've gotten away from a little bit the learning how to do a health and freedom presentation. And it's something that we're now, with our new STI process, we're going back to, because it's critical that you not only know how to do a health and freedom presentation, but you're doing some version of the health and presentation, the health and freedom presentation, with every single person that you introduce USANA to. Even if you're doing the health checks, never do a health check without doing a health and freedom presentation, because the information that is in the health and freedom presentation is the context in which the health check that you do for people is going to make sense. Okay? If they don't know what USANA is or what makes it different, then your recommendations at the end of the health check are going to be very weak. Okay? If they understand what makes USANA so special and what makes our products so unique, then at the end of your health check, you will have done them a real service, because they know that this is a unique product that they need to be taking. And also, the information that's in the health and freedom presentation, it's all of the basic information that you need in order to really explain to people what the product and the company and the opportunity are all about. So if you cannot do a health and freedom presentation, then you don't have the skills that are required to really serve people and make a difference and help guide them to a decision about using the products or the business to help them in their life. So make sure that you learn how to do the health and freedom presentation by doing as many of them as possible. When I first started in USANA, those of you who know me, I've told this story a million times, but we didn't really, William and I and Regina, we didn't really have mentors really in the business, that people that worked with us very, very closely. And so what I did was I found Jordan Kemper, who was a 2 or 3 star diamond director at that time. And he had a basic health and freedom presentation that was about 45 minutes, I think. And I listened to that presentation over and over and over and over, at least 100 times, until I knew the entire presentation word for word, start to finish. And what I started doing was going out and giving the same health and freedom presentation to my prospects. And ultimately what happened over time is, once I had mastered the basic health and freedom, I was able to then start improvising and sharing new knowledge that I learned, sharing my story, incorporating new things that USANA was doing. But it was really that core foundational skill of being able to do the health and freedom presentation that made that all possible. And then you have the ability to follow up after you've done a presentation, following up with people, making sure you're going through that process of exposing them multiple times to videos and information about USANA, meeting them as many times as possible in a short period of time. And then the 5th skill is, it's called closing. Okay, a lot of times we like to call it guiding to a decision, because when you get somebody to become a customer or to take USANA on as a business, it's actually a beginning. It's an opening of something. It's not a closing of anything. The idea of closing is more of a traditional sales terminology, where you're selling somebody a watch or a car, or you're closing that deal, which is basically the end of that process. In USANA, what you're doing is you're educating people, you're helping them understand what this is, and then you're guiding them to a decision to either choose to do USANA or to use the products or not, based on what their current needs are in the situation at the moment. The 6th skill is how to get started properly, and that's the getting started process that we're creating with our STI website at the moment. And then the 7th skill is the highest paid skill, which is the ability to effectively promote events to your team. Eric Worre has drilled into my mind that every associate that you have that comes to a major convention, so for us it's either the Asia Pacific convention or the global convention in America, every person that you get to come to the convention is equivalent to an extra $1,000 in your income each year. So if you're able to get an extra, if you're able to get 50 people to a convention over time, you learn to become really great. That's an extra 50,000. If you can get 100 people, it's an extra 100,000. And so the ability to really effectively communicate the importance of the events and get your team very excited about attending them is the highest paid skill in network marketing. Now, I want to talk very quickly about what's called the 1-3-5-7 rule and what that means, because I think it's very important to set the right expectations when you first start in the business. So step one is the first year that you're in the business is developing core competencies. And that means that you're good, at least good at all 7 skills. In the first year, you're not going to make a lot of money in network marketing. That's just the way that it is for, you know, your lion's share of people, right? Most people that are out there. But you're going to grow yourself as a human being a lot. You're going to learn a lot, and you're going to earn some money while you're learning. The third year in your business is where you develop basic mastery of all of the skills, and you develop a full-time income. Okay, this is year 3 is generally where people start looking at transitioning out of their job and into doing USANA full-time, because they've been able to replace their full-time income with the USANA income. That's generally like gold director. 5 years to become a network marketing professional and becoming what's called a significant earner, which is 6 figures and beyond. So now you're looking at Ruby, executive Ruby, and here you are somebody that has a large organization, and you're now developing leadership within yourself. So it takes about 5 years to be able to achieve that level. Year 7 is total mastery of the 7 skills in network marketing professional. To become a network marketing professional, you're developing mastery around leadership. You have a very large organization, and you've developed significant passive income that is stable and will then pay you for the rest of your life. And here's where you're looking at multiple 6 figures, 7-figure earners, things like that. So that's the 1-3-5-7 year rule. And I was listening to Sarah Robbins' book, Rock Your Network Marketing Business, the other day. And she had a statistic where it said 94% of all distributors who stay in network marketing actively for 10 years, 94% of them make $1 million in network marketing. So that's a pretty extraordinary statistic. And it really goes to show you that these are $1 million skills. So this is a picture of a tree. I like this analogy because you can see the roots that are under the ground. The roots are the mindset. The roots are the skills that you develop. Your first year in the business, you're really developing these roots, and you're going deep, and you're taking the time, you're investing your time and your energy to become very competent in the core skills and mindset. And then you can see year 13 to 18, which is basically your second year in the business, is where you start seeing the fruit of your labor, right? The apples that are on the tree are a result of the health of the roots. So if you're skipping steps, you're not following the process, you're not developing a growth mindset, you're not showing humility, you're not being coachable, then if you have a bad root system, then the fruit on your tree are going to be rotten, okay? You're not going to get very, very quality fruit. So if you've been in the business for a while and you don't like the quality of the fruit that's on your tree, you really want to take a look within yourself and ask yourself, how healthy are your roots? The next step along the process is application. Okay, so some of you may heard of the term divorce the outcome and marry the process. Okay, that means you're not worried about the results. You're focusing on what it is that you're doing and developing the skills along the way that will make the results inevitable. Okay, and it also means you're not obsessively worrying about the results and then becoming disempowered when you don't get what you want. Okay, when you marry the process, it means you fall in love with the process, and the ladder to success is one that you're enjoying. So the process of mastery is very simple. You do, okay? So we've talked about learning up until now, okay? Now the process of mastery is to do. You take action, okay? Second step is you get a result. You either get the result that you want or you get a result that you don't want. Either way, all it is feedback. If you get the result that you want, you know you're going in the right direction. If you fail to get the result that you want, right, you fail, then all that means is that you need to then adjust what you're doing. Okay, you refine your approach and then repeat the action again. And this is really the process of mastery. You want to get out of your head as much as possible, right? Where you're analyzing what it is that you're doing, and get in the process of doing, getting the feedback, adjusting what you're doing, and taking action again. And the less thinking that's involved in that process, the more that you're going to grow really, really quickly. So you can see here general awareness, deeper understanding, skill development, advanced skill development, and then mastery. And Tony Robbins always says that repetition is the mother of skill. So it's actually the ability to keep taking actions over and over and over and over and over again that are what allows you to have the skills that are required. And there's a book called by Malcolm Gladwell where he says that any skill requires 10,000 hours of working on it repetitively in order to become a master at it. So whether it's soccer or guitar playing or USANA, as long as you put in the time and the energy and you embrace the process, you will become a master and you will grow a large, fruitful organization. After application is teaching. Okay, so this is a part where it's very important that that you involve your team in the process. Okay, it's not enough just to show people what to do, right? Because if you just show them, then they're gonna go away. They're gonna be intimidated. Fear is gonna kick in, and they're not gonna actually take the action. Okay, and it's also not enough just to tell people what to do either. Okay, so you really need to tell people, you need to tell people what to do and then show them, right? You actually do the action yourself and show them. And then you also involve them in the process. Okay, so as the saying goes, tell me and I'll forget, show me and I may remember, but involve me and I will understand. And this is very, very critical in the teaching process, because too many people are only showing and telling people what to do, but they're not actually involving people in the process, and they're not duplicating leaders. So the easiest way to remember this is I do, we do, you do. So I do means when you first get your new people in the business, you do the presentation for them, right? Maybe you show them how to do the contacting and inviting, okay? And then they watch you as you're doing the process, okay? The second step is we do, which means you do it together, okay? So if we take the health and freedom presentation, for example, you'll have your new person do the health part of the presentation, and as the mentor, generally you do the business part of the presentation during that process. So you involve them, and then you can do another presentation where you flip-flop. So here is where your new associates are booking presentations for you as their mentor, and then you're doing it for them, and then you're doing it together. And then the third step is your associate actually does the presentation on their own, and you watch them, take some notes, and then be able to give them feedback so they can then improve. And I promise you, if you go around doing all of your presentations for your associates because you feel like it's more effective if you do it, or you want to save time, if you want to save time, whatever the case may be, I can assure you that you're slowing down the growth and development of your own team members, and you're slowing down the growth of your own organization. So for those of you who are in my team, I don't know if Mia's out there or Nellie's out there, but I can assure you that one of the things that I will do very, very early in the process is I will let them know that you're going to be now doing the section. And a lot of times, they have to get over fear. They have to deal with whatever they have to deal with. But the outcome ultimately is they realize they didn't die and they're pretty good. and then it gives them confidence and they feel like, wow, I can do this. And remember, the number one thing that you need to tell people in the first game plan session is that our number one objective is to make you as independent of me as soon as possible. That is the main goal. It doesn't mean you're going to leave them, but it does mean that the goal is to have all of your associates be independent of you as soon as possible. And in order to do that, you need to become very effective at teaching. So you never want to do anything for someone that they cannot do for themselves. It makes them weak and it makes them dependent on you. Okay, so the next stage is delegation. And this one maybe not as so straightforward, okay? Because by delegation, we do not mean getting other people to do your work, okay? Most people, if you ask them what delegation means, they will tell you that it means getting other people to do your work for you. And that is not what effective delegation is, and it's not what leaders do. Telling people what to do or just getting other people to do your work is the easiest way to get people to resent you. And it's an employee type of mentality, okay? It's not leadership. So real delegation is empowering other people to do things, okay? Now, these are things that typically you'll do for them in the beginning, and then you'll begin to delegate things because as the leader, you can't do everything. So the easiest way to get people to learn is to have them do new things and to do things, generally things that they're easier to do. It's probably a waste of your time as the leader to do, but it's very good for your new people to do because they're learning new skills. Okay, so it's about empowering people. It's not about giving orders. You know, in network marketing, everybody is the CEO of their own business. You do not want to be the upline person that's walking around telling people what to do. It's not empowering and it's not leadership. So I want to go over, so that's what delegation is not, okay? Now, what delegation is a series of a couple of steps. And the first step to effective delegation is you actually state the intention of what it is that you're having them do and why. And so you have to very, very clearly communicate to the person that you're working with that the stated intention of what you're asking them to do is actually for them to grow. Okay, so if you have somebody do a health and freedom presentation on a Sunday, for example, because you're not feeling well, or you feel like it's their turn to sort of take a step up in leadership, you can ask them to do that for you. But it's more empowering to let them know that you believe that they're at a stage in their business where it's time for them to step up. You've seen leadership in them, and that the intention of what you're asking them to do is actually their own growth and development. So it's not you telling them what to do; it's you giving them an opportunity. The second stage is to give clear instructions, okay? And I believe that this is something that we can all work on, myself very much included. A lot of times, if we've done something 100 times, in our own minds, we know what it takes to do it. But we forget to put ourselves back into the shoes of somebody that's new in the business, and we give incomplete instructions. And then ultimately what ends up happening is the person then will go off and then they'll do something. They'll do what you ask them to do, but in a very ineffective way, which can then cause frustration on your end and can actually damage their confidence. So you want to make sure that you're thinking to yourself when you are delegating to people, you want to make sure that they are 100% clear what it is that you're asking them to do, okay, what the action is, why you're asking them to do it, and then how. What's the how that is involved in actually doing it, so they're crystal clear about what they're doing. Okay, that's very important for you to, William always says slow is fast and fast is slow. Okay, if you give incomplete instructions, you might be able to just give somebody instructions very quickly, hey, go do this, and then you're off going and doing something. But ultimately, going fast is going to be slow because chances are they're not going to do a good job and it's going to have to be redone. So it slows down. So if you take a step back and you ask yourself, What is it that I'm asking this person to do? You communicate it clearly. They're going to get it done the first time that you ask them to do it, and then you can then move on. The next important step is creating a deadline. So one of our mentors always told us that a task without a deadline it doesn't exist. It's not real. So in order for something to exist in reality, it must have time and it must have distance. They call it distance. So it has to exist in reality. It has to be in your Google Calendar with a time and then some sort of accountability that's attached to it. Otherwise, we all do this, right? We all naturally procrastinate and we'll just wait. And if it's not in the calendar at a specific time where it's calling at you to get it done, then you'll just keep pushing it off and keep pushing it off. And then the next part of that is following up. Great leaders always follow up. And what that means is they provide accountability. Okay. Now, most of us, myself included, we don't like to be held accountable, right? And we don't like really for people to follow up because we feel like, oh, that means that I'm not good enough, or I'm not doing a good enough job, or, whatever the case may be. And as a result of that, a lot of times we don't follow up with people because we don't like being followed up with, right? We don't like accountability, and therefore we don't hold people accountable. But this is a huge problem because without accountability, you cannot be a leader. You have to be willing to have somebody get upset with you in order to help them break past whatever their fears are by saying, no. John, you said that this was going to be, finished at 2:00 on Saturday. What happened? And then be able to get them to recommit to a new time if they don't get it done, and then really empower them to get that done. If you don't follow up or you step over it, which means you don't address someone not doing something, then ultimately they're actually losing. So you are actually harming that person by not holding them accountable, even though it can feel uncomfortable. Being able to be someone who's direct in your communication and is okay with providing follow-up is when the beginning of leadership starts. Delegation is it's very, very important that you do it effectively because it's the only thing that actually creates duplication. So we have a couple more steps here, and then we'll wrap up. But duplication is something that you hear all the time in network marketing. And it's interesting because if you think about it, duplication itself is not a skill, right? You can't learn how to duplicate. You can learn how to delegate, and you can learn how to teach, and you can learn how to do those things because that's a skill. Duplication is actually the natural result of following a particular process. Okay, this is where you've developed a system, right? STI, we're developing a system, and then the system actually does the work for you. So if you want to become good at duplication, you actually have to be good at the skills that are required in order to create duplication in your business. And if you don't have duplication in your business, again, it's an opportunity to grow. But what you want to do is you want to go back and you want to look at the steps that were before this and figure out, where am I not performing as well as I could in the skills that are required in order to create duplication? So when you have strong duplication, it means that you, as the individual, are not the issue. Okay, this is very important, and it's why a system is so important. Because if you have a government or a company or a business that is reliant on one individual, that company will fail at some point, because no one individual can support a giant organization. It will, the organization at some point will outgrow that person, and then the person will either get crushed underneath the weight of the organization itself, or because it's reliant on one person, the growth and development will be dramatically slowed down. So if you're a super upline, which means you're the person who's running around doing all the presentations, or you're stepping in and doing it, and you're, in the interest of, having a better result or going faster or whatever, you're the person that everybody is coming to, hey, come to my appointment, come do this, and people are getting upset with you because you can't be in 100 different places at once. You have not mastered delegation, and you're not creating duplication, and you will never create leaders. You're creating followers, and in network marketing, people that create followers cap out at about gold or ruby director. So you don't want to be a super upline, because you also become a slave to your own business. A system is something that works for you, and you create duplication, and that's the key to leveraged and residual income. And duplication is the key to creating freedom. So when you have a really good system and you're a good leader, what you do is you actually step back, because you've taught the people that are in your organization, maybe you can do it better, but it doesn't matter, right? Because when you're able to take a step back and then be able to guide people in the process, what happens is your business can become much bigger, but your stress level doesn't have to go up with your business, because you're allowing the system to take care of the process. And the system is what allows you to multiply leaders. So when it comes to multiplication, the multiply effect, when you have a really strong system, which is where we are at our point now in STI, we have some really incredibly amazing things coming for STI Unleashed, our website and everything that's coming out. That's a system that's reliant on no one, which means if something bad happened to somebody, or they decided to move to a different company, or anything, you have a system that's not reliant on any one individual. Now you have a situation where you can multiply leaders. You can expand into new markets. You can go into new cities. I'm in Lampung at the moment. You can move into new countries, because the growth of your organization is not dependent on you as a new person. So then you can now go out and expand into new territories and start building your empire in different places. This is where you start experiencing exponential growth, and this is real passive income. Passive income meaning that you have a system which is working for you. That way, even if you decide to take some time off or whatever the case may be, your business will go viral. We'll use a 21st century technology. It goes viral. And once you have all of these things in place, and you have a giant organization, and you also have giant income, you have freedom, and you're overpaid and underworked. Okay, so in network marketing, in the beginning, there is no doubt about the fact that you're going to be overworked and underpaid in the beginning. And then when you experience that exponential growth, you're going to be overpaid and underworked, and that is a beautiful thing to happen. You're going to start being able to travel internationally, and the bonuses that are built into the USANA compensation plan are insane. It's Deep and Simmer at the Leadership Summit this weekend, so they're going to learn a lot about the gold bonus and a lot of the other the bonuses that come in as you grow. Once you get to gold director and ruby and emerald, you start getting all these new leadership bonuses that start kicking in, and the income just starts to really exponentiate. It begins to multiply. And Zig Ziglar says you can have anything in life that you want if you just help enough people get what they want. And that is really the ultimate goal in this business, is to empower other people to be the best version of themselves in health, wealth, and happiness. That is the STI motto. Our goal is to empower and enable people to be the best versions of themselves in health, wealth, and happiness. And when you empower enough people to get what they want, you will get everything that you want for yourself and your life. And that is what we want for all of you, to go diamond and achieve whatever financial freedom and success looks like for you and your USANA business. So that is it for us tonight in terms of the content. So